Good old Aruba. Reba. I was there a few months ago. I'm returning back because the vibes have to be high for this action island. It's the moment you've been waiting for. We haven't been on the hottest of terms of late, but you know, it's Seahawks, it's Niners. We have the luck rankings kind of telling us maybe we should go with San Francisco. So who better to bring on for the action island and for us to bounce back than the normal crew, Nick Giffen, Gilles Gallant, and Sean Koerner. Of course, if you're new here, this is how Action Island will work. We will be breaking down the entire game. Each of these three experts will give out two of their favorite picks, whether it's sides, totals, or player props. We'll vote one in to the SGP, and then we'll vote one out. In the beauty of same game parlays, you can pick and choose how you so please to play. Nick Giffen, I'm going to kick it to you first. Let's start off hot. Where are you headed for your two props?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with the bet I already made on this game, and the first one I made, I should say, and that is the under on this game. It's at 49 now, 48.5 at some books. I'm fine with that. 49 isn't a super key number, but I already talked about this. I love the under here. I think, both teams getting a lot of pressure, especially adjusted pressure. And then Seattle hasn't really faced a ton of pressure, which I think will hurt Geno Smith because he's really only faced one team that's been in the top 10 in pressure. So this could be a struggle spot for Geno Smith facing all that pressure from San Francisco. They've generated a top 8 rate. And when you kind of adjust for the offensive lines, both these teams generate pretty solid pressure here. San Francisco gets a bump relative to Seattle. So I think this is just a spot where it's too high. Geno probably will have to check down a lot. He has the fourth shortest ADOT anyway, and San Francisco allows a lot worse DVOA efficiency on the ground, so more ground game potential for Seattle as well. For my second pick, I am going to go, instead of the player prop, I bet, I'm going to go San Francisco minus 3.5. I think this is, again, a spot where I didn't even give this stat out earlier in the show, but if we look at the past defenses, San Francisco has 25 passes defended. That is a very high number. That is 17% of all the attempts they've faced. They have defended a pass. Seattle only has 12 pass defenses, and they've only intercepted the ball twice, and that's only 7%. So the league average is around 13%, and so San Francisco being at 17% versus Seattle being at 7% really doesn't bode well for Seattle in this one, especially if they have to come from behind. If Charvarius Ward is healthy, really like San Francisco minus 3.5 in this one.
Yeah, obviously we talked at the top of the show about both of these reasons, so don't have to go any further than that. Jill, Sean, we're going to get to voting between the under and San Francisco. Let's get to it. All right, either the side or the total. How are we starting this SGP? Let's show them in 3, 2, 1. Under, Niners. All right, we're siding with the under as the first leg of the SGP. More on the Niners in just a little bit. But Gilles Gallant, I know you have 2 anytime touchdown picks. We kind of talked about it also earlier in the show, but give us a refresher on your 2 legs for the SGP.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we headed down to Aruba, we did the 4-down territory. And Brandon Ayuk is who I love to score a touchdown on the Niners side. Nick kind of alluded to this a little bit with the Niners 3.5. The Seahawks defense has just been slipping lately, like 4 touchdowns to wide receivers over the last 2 games. They're 18th in defensive DVOA versus wide receiver 1 and 23rd versus the deep ball, which lends itself well to Ayuk, who has a pretty high ADOT. And he's got 6 red zone targets. 3 of them were in the end zone. I think it's only a matter of time before he explodes for a big game, especially if the Seahawks play man coverage where Brandon Ayuk has just diced up that kind of defense. So Brandon Ayuk is the first option. The next option, Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's around plus 210, plus 220. He caught a touchdown last week. He's averaging around 8 targets per game, leads the team in red zone targets. And the Niners defense, when they do end up playing man defense, because they've been playing it around the league average, but they're 30th in success rate, and they allow the second most yards per target. And right now, JSN leads the Seahawks in target share versus man defenses. So I think it's JSN's time to shine. So Jackson Smith and Jigba for a touchdown, or Brandon Ayuk for a touchdown tonight.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. Like, can Seattle finally use JSN the right way? I mean, come on. As for Brandon Ayuk, it really feels like, he had the breakout game. Now it's time for an anytime touchdown. It kind of feels like I kind of feel like I know where we're heading with this one, with the San Francisco love throughout the entire top of the show. But Nick, Sean, let's get to voting. All right, Brandon Ayuk or JSN. Let's show him in 3, 2, 1. Ayuk. A clean sweep for Brandon Ayuk. I feel like I knew it was coming. It does feel like he's priced a little too low. And, if there's one thing we're all rooting for, it's San Francisco to start out hot, to do well, and to keep things going. And how better than to do it with your number one receiver. So the second leg of the SGP, we expect some scoring. Brandon Ayuk, an anytime touchdown to pair with the under. Sean Koerner, take us home with your 2 legs of the SGP.
All right, so for my first one, I'm going to go with Bridget Carlton of the Lynx, under 10.5 points. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong sport. I'm going to go 49ers, first half, minus 2.5. Gave this out at the top of the hour, but I think this Niners offense has been just as good this year. They just haven't been scoring touchdowns in the red zone. They've only converted on 41% of their red zone trips have ended in a touchdown. That's just bad luck. They might be missing Christian McCaffrey a bit in that metric, but I think they're going to bounce back and score more touchdowns going forward. So I think right now is a good time to buy low on them. And, Nick had mentioned that Geno Smith really hasn't faced as much pressure as he could tonight. I agree with that. One of the biggest mismatches I've ever seen is right tackle Stone Forsythe, who's been filling in for George Fant, has allowed the most QB hurries, the most QB pressures on the season for any lineman, and he'll be squaring off against Nick Bosa for most of the games. So that's going to be a huge concern for Seattle's offensive line. And just the Niners always play well against the Seahawks. They've beaten them by 12 or more points in 5 straight games. And, Shanahan's an excellent game planner, offensive genius. He always gets them off to a hot start and then, kind of squanders the lead later on. So I think the best play here is to take the Niners first half at minus 2.5. For my other leg of this, I'm going to stick with my prop I gave out earlier, Brock Purdy over. It looks like it's up to 14.5 rushing yards here. I always love, his rushing upside. He hasn't really tapped into that much as a pro, but he did back at Iowa State. He has very good short speed. And I think the reason he's been really tapping into his scrambling ability the last 3 games is because he doesn't have Christian McCaffrey there to check down to. So I think we see him continue to lean on his rushing upside a bit more tonight. And Seattle, they use press coverage at the 3rd highest rate. So that could really bump off his pass catcher's routes, forcing him to scramble a little bit more. So love his upside in his rushing prop tonight.
Yeah, and once again, MGM, DraftKings, please like and subscribe for that one. The yards have taken off multiple yards, so our SGP is going to have to maybe do some tweaking. Do we go with Brock Purdy at this higher 14.5 number, or do we get that second chance coming back around with the Niners this time in the first half? Nick, Gilles, let's get to voting. All right. Well, we would have all voted for Bridget Carlton under if we had the opportunity, but it's the NFL. So Nick, Gilles, let's show them in 3, 2, 1. San Fran crossed out Brock and went with the Niners. A clean sweep yet again here on Sean's pick. It really just feels like a game. I think we're all in agreement. San Francisco going to have a lot of success. Plus those yards, could be key down the stretch. We see it time and time again in those mid-teens. So The SGP, before we kick it to one of you, is going to be the under 49 and a half, wherever you can get it at the SGP. Brandon Ayuk, an anytime touchdown paired with the San Francisco 49ers to win the first half by 3 or more. You put that together, it is a plus 850 payout. Gilles, I'll kick it to you. How are you feeling about this SGP?
I mean, I like it. I like the fact that we're getting a little bit of negative correlation with the under 49 and having the Ayuk touchdown. I like that we're having the 49ers covered on the first half as well. So if we're based on the analysis, it sounds like this one should be fairly straightforward.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this one, guys. And listen, what better way than to bring in Geno Smith's new birthday than with a fat L and a Niners win. So hopefully we can cash this one. But Nick, Gilles, Sean, appreciate you guys hopping over to the island. Go have a couple of drinks. Take your flight home. We need you on Sunday. But until then, you guys are good to go. Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And one more time for the SGP on Action Island, plus 850 over at Bet365. Those 3 legs, the game total under 49 from Nick Giffen, Brandon Ayuk, an anytime touchdown from Gilles Gallant, and then Sean Koerner with the 49ers in the first half. Again, all 3 of those legs together pay out plus 850 over at Bet365.